Hello, this is the application I've been working on for a while now. So to start off, this is how the dashboard looks like. It is a finance application for schools. It tracks like the school finances. So let's just dive into it. On the dashboard area, you can be able to see a couple of things like the revenue, the expenses, net operating income, and then the outstanding fees for students. And then under that, you can be able to see a graph for the past 6 months for revenue. And then we have like a pie chart for expenses. So that is the dashboard. And then we have fee management. Under fee management is where you can be able to see like the invoices for the students. And then we have donations. Under donations is where you can be able to add a donation in case your school receives a donation. And then under expenses is where you can be able to track the school expenses. Under employees is where you can be able to add the different employees. And then under payroll is where you can be able to actually pay your employees. Under students is where you can be able to add new students and check their account balances. And then we have reports. You can be able to see fee defaulters, income statements, and then expense reports. And all of these reports, you can be able to generate PDFs of them. Inside of the settings, you can be able to create student categories. So before adding a student, you need to create student categories. So for example, here I have the primary years program and the middle years program. And then in the primary years program, we have a tuition fee of $100 and a transport fee of $20. Under the middle years program, we have like only the tuition fee. So this depends on your school setup. You can be able to add different fees or different charges for the different programs or how your school is set up. And then we have the employee salaries. So here is where you can be able to categorize the different salaries depending on the different employees that you have. So you might have teachers, you might have cleaners, you might have cooks, you might have security guards. Even inside like the teachers, you might have different salary scales for the different teachers. So this is where you categorize that. Currently, I only have like two categories, the PYP coordinator and the MYP coordinator. You can be able to add any salary scale in here. And once you add an employee, you can assign them the salary. And then you have campuses. In case your school is a multi-campus or a single campus, you can be able to add as many campuses as you have, and then add the students and the employees of the specific campuses. So that is the settings area. So let's try adding a student so that you can see the process of adding a student. So when you come to the student area, click on add new student. So first name, so let's just have a student, and then add admission number. Let me just continue using the admission numbers that I've been using. Being something like that. The student goes into maybe grade 10, and then they are going into maybe the North Campus, and then the category is an MIP student because middle years program. So this one will set the fees for the student immediately. So now create the student. So you see the student that you've created is here. North Campus is an MYP. The student has never paid any school fees. So we can be able to edit the student's details or delete a student. And then when you go to fee management, so after adding a student, we go to fee management. And then we can come here and generate invoices for the student. So let's say, for example, uh, let's say we're generating invoices for, let's just do something like October, November. Yeah. invoices starting November 1st. Generate invoice. Now you can see I have invoices, and as you can remember, like we had students who had excess fees in their uh, in the system. So if I go back to students, you can see this student had more money. He had like somewhere in the range of 300 in credit. This one also had some more money. This one had some more money. So, and this one, since we added them right now, they don't have anything in the fee. So you can be able to see all of this information in here. That means that whenever if a student has, if a parent has paid excess fee, that fee will be automatically deducted from the amount that they are going to pay for the next month or for the next term, depending on your setup. So the system is currently set up for a month-to-month basis in terms of fee payment, but you can set it up for like 3 months if you are doing termly setup or per semester, something like that. You can set it up like that. So this student has not paid any fees. This other student had excess fees, so it has been deducted automatically from the system. So we go back to fee management. If you are the finance officer of the school and the parent of the student sends in school fees, just go into view and then select. You can be able to see here the amount that they've paid, what they've paid, and such kind of things. Select how much have they paid. Let's say, for example, they've paid $100. They paid today. We have bank transfer, cash, online. You can add other options of payment. So let's say, for example, they paid cash and then record payment. You can see now the parent paid $100. Now, when you go back to here already, it is changed to the fee is partially paid. So when you go back to fee management, we can be able to see the student here, down here, the total amount they are supposed to pay is 150, and then the parent paid 100, so their balance is 50, and it is showing they have partially paid their school fees. So that is how we can be able to pay school fees and such kind of things. So you can be able to see here, this is just an overview. So in case you have like a lot of students, you can be able to like break down, like you can be able to see either just by grades. So you can be able to filter. So by grades, or you can be able to filter by like paid, unpaid, or if like they finished their school fees. So let's say, for example, like you want to see students who have finished their school fees, so you can be able to filter that. You want to see students who have not finished their school fees, you can be able to filter that, and you can be able to see who has done that, who has not done what, like that, like that. And when you go to now the reports for the student now, if I go to fee defaulters, you'll be able to see like this student has not been able to finish paying the school fees, and then they have an overdue balance of $50. So if it is anything, you can be able to export the PDF, and then you get the for that student. So that is the student parts. Now let's go for the employees. So inside the employees, so I can click on add an employee. So click here to add an employee. So let's say, for example, we want to add just a regular employee. So let's say we have here, and then the job title, maybe it's the, so the category, we'll have to put like a category for the head of academics if they are getting a different salary with like the other people. So as per now, let's just use an example, like their salary scale is the same as the MYP coordinator, and then the head of academics is for all the campuses, and then like we can include a bank information, let's say for example, and then so for this employee, like since they are not accessing the system, we don't need to create an account for them for the system. They're not accessing the school finances. If they were accessing the school finances, we will create an account, a system account for them, input their email, and then select a role. So currently, the roles that we have are the finance officer, the campus manager, and then we have the school director. So those are the people who are accessing the system at the moment. We can still select if we want this employee to access the system. We can select a certain role, like we can say we can give them a role, for example, of a campus manager, and then we add other permissions. So they can either like view one campus or view as one campus or all campuses. Currently, we have set them to like all campuses. So they can view all campuses, and then they can like view their own campus, or they cannot view their own campus. So let's say for example we are creating a finance officer. We just need, they can only view their own campus, they cannot view the other campus, such kind of thing. So if we were creating a system, an account for them, this is what we will have to select like their role, and then we select different permissions that we are giving them, like that. So for this employee, we are not selecting any of that, and then let's create an employee. So we have created here the employee, it's the head of academics, he's getting a salary like the MYP coordinator, and then he is for all the campuses, so like that. So uh, we can give them access, different access depending on like what they are doing. So for this, for both the campuses, now here you'll have to now decide if you are having a multi-campus setup and you set up someone for like all the campuses. You have to decide like where are they getting their salary from. So the person who is paying their salary is now the person who will be billing them. So we'll see that later. So now we have set up here an employee. So when we go to payroll, and then here we generate a payroll. So let's generate a payroll for maybe August, generate payslips. So we can see here we are in July. When we go to August filter, we have the payrolls for August. So these are the people, and we can now, as if you are the finance officer and you want to pay their salaries. Let's say, for example, let's go into like this person, we want to pay their salary. So this is now their salary. If they have any deductions, let's say, like for example, they took an advance. So we just need to put here they took an advance. How much did they take? So they took an advance of 300. So that is a deduction. We add. Okay, and then let's say they had something like overtime or something like that. Overtime for like, let's say, $100. Let's say we are giving them allowances for maybe transport. So transport, $50. Like this is something that maybe like we can automate in the system, such that a specific that is something that we are working on to come. such that the finance does not have to fill some of these things. But at the same time, if we are looking into like their base salary, we can include something like their allowances, like their transport, food, and whatever. And then we can just do deductions for, like, let's say, for example, they took an advance or they had overtime. So such kind of things. So once you are done with your employee and everything is set, you can mark this employee as paid once you've sent their salary, and then you can download now their payslip. So this is how like their payslip will look like. So let's just open that. Yeah, something like this. So the name of the institution, and then the employee, the campus, the job title, the salary category, and then we have now the breakdown of their salary. So they got this is their base salary, and then we have now overtime, and then we have the transport, and then this is the total earnings they got, and then the deduction. So they received an advance of 300, so minus 300, this is now their net pay, like that. So that is how now the salaries would look like. So once you go through paying all the salaries, like now when you go to August, you can see we've paid the salary for this individual, so we are remaining with like this other individual. So you can go and pay like one person one at a time, or if there are no changes in like the salary scales, like you don't have like overtimes and anything, and if you set your base pay to like their net pay, you can just click on mark all as paid, and then it will mark all employees as paid. Like if I click here, mark all as paid, it will mark all employees as paid, and then you can go ahead and like now view the details and download their payslips and send them their payslips, just like that. So that is the payroll. And then you can see inside the expenses here, you can be able to add any expense that you incur throughout the month. So let's say, for example, there is an expense that you incurred. So on this day, maybe you bought supplies. It would be good like to describe maybe like which kind of supplies you bought so that you're specific. So maybe the supplies were for $400, and then the vendor maybe, so describe specifically which supplies like you took, and then are they for the North Campus or are they for the South Campus? So you need to describe like which one, and then the receipt. So you need to attach a receipt showing that these are the supplies you bought, this is what you spent. So the receipt is optional because there are certain things that maybe you won't get a receipt for. Like let's say, for example, some transport costs, you might not get a receipt, so the receipt is optional. So save expenses. You see now we've just included expense for supplies, and then all the details are recorded here. So if I go back to the dashboard, you'll see like the dashboard is changing. Initially, this amount was a little bit less. Now it has increased since we collected school fees, and then the expenses has also increased since like we've made some expenses and we've paid some things. And then we have the net operating income. Some right now we are at stable because we are not over our budget. And then outstanding fees, so we have one student who has not fully paid their school fees, so we can see an outstanding fee. And then on our breakdown, on our expense breakdown here, we can be able to see we have now a new expense. You can see we have expense for supplies. This is the largest expense that we have. And then we have electricity, and then we have food, and then we have transport. So those are now our expenses. And then you can be able to now narrow down into like the specific campuses to see which campus is spending on what. So if I go into the North Campus, I can be able to see the North Campus only spent on electricity and transport. This is how their revenue looks like. So they have 1.1K, and then the expenses is 0.4K, and then their operating income is 0.8, and then the outstanding fee is that one student. And then when we go to the South Campus, you see like their total revenue is 0.3K, expenses 0.6. So their expenses is higher than their revenue. So, and then their net operating income, well, they are at a negative, still stable, but they are at a negative, and then they don't have outstanding school fees. And they've spent on supplies, which is 400, and then food, which is 200. So you can be able to see all that information inside here. So currently, so far, the application is, we can say, with some institutions it's complete. In case anything is required, in case your institution needs something, you can be able to add. Yeah,